Sir George Alfred Julius, the 29th of April 1873 to the 28th of June 1946, was an English-born Australian inventor and entrepreneur. He was the founder of Julius Poole and Gibson Pty Limited and Automatic Totalisators Limited, and invented the world's first automatic totalisator. Early years. George Alfred Julius was born in a small house in Bethill Street, Norwich, England, demolished in the 1930s to make way for the new City Hall. At that time his father, Churchill Julius, 1847 to 1938, was a curate at St. Giles in Norwich. In 1873 the family moved firstly to the parishes of South Brent, now known as Brentnall, and thereafter to Shapwick and Ashcott in Somerset. Later, Churchill Julius became Vicar of Holy Trinity, Islington, London. He subsequently accepted the appointment as Archdeacon of Ballarat, Australia, and it was to here that the family travelled on the sailing ship South Australian in 1884. From an early age, George's mechanical inclination was obvious to his parents, and he often helped his father to fix clocks, one of which survives, now decommissioned, in the tower at St. Michael's, Brentnall, although George would have been too young to have assisted with this particular repair. The family moved to New Zealand when Churchill Julius was nominated to the Diocese of Christchurch. In 1889, he was consecrated, first, Bishop of Christchurch in 1890, and made Anglican primate and, first, Archbishop of New Zealand in 1922. In 1890, George Julius enrolled in a BSc, Mechanical Engineering, degree course at Canterbury College, University of New Zealand. Because of the contemporary boom in railway construction, he specialized in railway engineering and was the first such engineering student to graduate from this university, at the same time as Ernest Rutherford. Early career and the totalisator. Julius's professional career began in 1896. He traveled to Western Australia to accept an appointment as assistant engineer on the staff of the locomotive department, Western Australian Government Railways. He worked for the department for 11 years and was promoted to chief draftsman and then engineer in charge of tests. While working for the government railways, George Julius conducted a series of tests on timber and wrote 2 learned papers on Western Australian hardwoods. This research led to a job offer from Allen Taylor & Co. Limited, a timber company in Sydney, as part-time engineer. Julius accepted this offer in 1907. In whatever spare time he had, George Julius worked on the design for an automatic totalisator, helped by 2 of his sons. He built a prototype. However, the automatic totalisator was not originally conceived as a betting machine, but as a mechanical vote-counting machine. When the government rejected the voting machine concept, George Julius adapted it as a racecourse totalisator. The first installation of the totalisator was at Ellerslie Racecourse, Auckland, New Zealand in 1913, which was entirely manual in operation, and the second at Gloucester Park Racetrack in Western Australia, electrically driven. The patent was lodged on the 21st of December 1914. Subsequent orders kept the firm of Julius, Poole and Gibson solvent throughout the Great Depression, with the first UK installation in 1928 for Greyhound Racing, and in 1932 the first American installation at Hialeah Park, Florida. Career progression. One of the great contributions made by George Julius to the advancement of Australian technology resulted from his appointment, in 1926, as chairman to the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR. This later became the Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organisation. CSIRO, modelled on the UK's DSIR. He lobbied for development of primary production and solution to issues in such areas as food storage and food preservation. Later, he turned his attention to issues in secondary production such as aeronautics and electronics. During World War II, he served on the Central Inventions Board, the Australian Council for Aeronautics, as chairman, and the Army Inventions Directorate. George Julius was knighted in 1929. He remained active as a committee representative until his death on 28 June 1946. Family and legacy. In 1898, he married Eva O'Connor, daughter of Charles Yelverton O'Connor, and they had 3 sons. The eldest, Audrey Frances Julius, born 1900, was later to become a partner in his father's firm. Another, George Alfred Julius, was known as Gentleman George. However, he brought his good upbringing into a life of crime. In 1953, he went to jail for 8 years for burglary. He was the father of Wendy Whiteley, wife of the Australian painter Brett Whiteley, and his granddaughter was Archie Whiteley. A third son died during a flight around Australia in a single-seater aeroplane. A road in the grounds of the CSIRO headquarters in Canberra is named in his honour. George Julius Historical page. George Julius Family History. Straight betting. Automatic Totalisators Limited. Trade catalogue featuring Australian installations of Julius Automatic Totalisator for racecourse betting. The world's first large-scale, multi-user, real-time system. Was George Julius the inspiration for CSIRAC? Australia's first electronic digital computer. A few stories and history of my early years as a mechanic. On the old ATL Melbourne Tote. Australia circa 1976 plus.